Hier hebben we Ben Stewart, die gaat ons wat vertellen over monitoring.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. As you can hear, I will be doing this in English. Dat is niet omdat ik geen Nederlands kan. It's just because the talk is in English. So, thank you for being here. I know you could have chosen between Marco's demonstration of TimeNL, NTP, or Daniel's demonstration of distributed databases. But it means a lot to me that you're here with me. So, thank you. Observability, it's just contextualized monitoring. It's up to you to try and change my mind. So let's go in. But first, if you would like to reach me on various socials, this is how you can do that. Either through LinkedIn, Matrix, or Mastodon. If I'm not here with my employer or at events like these with my employer, that's the tiger on the right, Retigra, then I will either be at hacker events with Milliways, or I will be part of the Scouting Association, usually in the north. I'm an infrastructure architect with a specialty in software-defined networking, and I blend my technical ability as a former network engineer with some strategic IT experience, and sometimes I break my home automation and I get all riled up because documentation isn't great. So, we are way tool-centric with observability, and that's basically the theme of my talk, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll be storytelling through relatable imagery, I hope. The really important stuff is written out on the slides. Yes, you can have the slides, that's fine. None of this is new, I hope. I hope it's not new to you. It's not even technical. We can learn a lot from our peers, be it the people sitting next to you here in the room now, or the people you work with. And you likely already have a lot of the right ingredients to get you well on your way to having an observable organization, infrastructure, application. I don't know what all of you do. There's probably different domains figuring out here. Okay, so when we talk about observability, what do we actually mean? There are 3 pillars for observability. There's metrics. Hopefully everyone here should understand what I mean by metrics. You've got those old-fashioned, old-timey monitoring tools. They give you a bunch of points of data, that's metrics. And then we also got traces and logs. Those are, I won't say new, they're relatively new. So observability is a measure of how well the internal states of a system can be inferred from its external outputs. So metrics, traces, logs, these are external outputs, and you can measure how well the internal state of a system is through these 3 things. Basically, the core idea is what went wrong, why did it go wrong, and ideally, you'll have a little bit of an idea on how to fix it. So we're interested in information, not the data points of just the metrics by themselves. This is the context that you're starting to get of monitoring. So as monitoring got more complex, it got rebranded through time, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's take it back a little minute and discuss how did we even get here to begin with. There are dragons on the way. This is a very simplified overview. There's lots of amazing people. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants here. I didn't make all of this up. So we start in the 1960s in Hungary with a mathematician called Rudolf, and he first coined the term observability. Something to do with mathematics, linear dynamic systems. I'm neither a mathematician nor an engineer, so don't ask me anything about any of this. Fast forward a couple of years, Chris Loosely, Frank Douglas, they wrote up a paper. It's called High Performance Client Server. You can look it up. And that's where they described the application of observability within IT systems. Cool. 8 years later, moving down the line, We have Brian Cantrill, who describes the drawbacks of not having an observable software environment. That was in his write-up in ACMQ. And then later on, Twitter. Oh, do we remember Twitter? I love that place. They modernized it, and they've got 2 amazing write-ups from their former observability team. I'm not sure I have the link in this. If you're really interested, I can probably find it for you. Ask me. So this is how we got here. But then, where even is here, right? How did we go from some weird mathematical theory to today's buzzword, overhyping, software? They call it the hype cycle, and that's massively overcomplicated things. So let's look at how this hype cycle all works. I'm sure this probably looks very familiar to a lot of you. Most of these logos are parodies. I didn't really want to kick some shins. But a lot of us will have any number of tools. I've recently come away from a client who just their networking team had 17 separate monitoring tools, one of which overlapped with their cloud team. The cloud team had another 5 different monitoring tools. And none of these tools really worked or did anything. They had some stuff in one tool, more stuff in a different tool. All of these tools said wildly different things, and you were always trying to figure out which one here is telling the truth. You usually start out with some proprietary tool, right? Your infrastructure or your software landscape or whatever, it's based on something. You started somewhere, and the vendor of that, whatever it is, for me that will be a network, they will give you something that you can look at your network with, proprietary. And then you add on a new piece of technology. Well, now I've got something that I can't monitor in the first one, so I need a new tool. And that's where it starts, okay? And eventually, something is going to fall over. I'll get back to these photos, believe me. Because all of these proprietary tools, they can't see everything. They don't take stuff into account that you didn't know about in the first place. It breaks, and then all of a sudden it's my or your fault for the thing breaking in the first place, even though you had no idea it existed. So now there's a grudge about that one time that this thing that you didn't know about, it broke, and you get blamed for it. And they're like, how did you not know that this was the case? Well, I've got this proprietary tool, doesn't monitor everything, I can't put everything into it. So now we need to go and look for something new. And God forbid that they actually ask you for your opinion on this. They'll look at fintech news outlets, they'll go to research bureaus, they'll have meetings in boardrooms, you name it. And they'll just pick up on some buzzwords. Observability, wow. What happens when you fill in observability into DuckDuckGo, Ecosia? Well, you get some of these. For those who've never seen one of these, the name of the game is like this. You have a bunch of requirements, you have a bunch of wishes, and you need to pick a dot that's in the top right corner, because that's going to fix all of your problems. I swear. It'll probably also cost you a mortgage, several nice cars, a bunch of hours. You know how it goes. But hey, you found the tool that you want, right? Cool. Yeah, no. Procurement gets involved. That's too expensive. Are you sure that that's what you need? Didn't you look at this? The products on the right, they can do the same things as the one on the left, right? Red car, yellow guitar. I guess the other one doesn't necessarily say it's a PS5. Packaging's the same. Do you really need all the bells and whistles of the one on the left? After all, it's the same. Mm-hmm. Well, now you've got the same amount of tools plus one. And what have you even solved? Anything? Can you do anything with this extra tool that you just got? Are you sure it's going to work this time? Did it work the previous 16 times? So how do we break this cycle, right? What are we supposed to do? Keep on buying tools? No. You need to shift your mindset. Stop buying tools. There really isn't a single tool out there that's going to fix whatever issue that you're running into. There isn't a silver bullet for this. What you need to do is rethink why you've got what you've got and how you are using it. And for people like me, maybe for some of you out there, this is going to start to get difficult, but consolidation is foundational, like really, really key. Don't just add on to the next tool, start to get rid of tools and put stuff into one place. That'll become important a little bit later on. And then you start giving, in the tools that you've got remaining, again, you've downsized, right? The context that they're missing. So where do we get the context from? Getting there. First of all, stop monitoring for the sake of monitoring. I'm sure a lot of us are well aware of dashboards that don't mean anything. Got some squiggly lines, some charts, some cool needles that are pointing back and forth. Don't really know what they mean. If you're anything like me, almost half of your alerting has been black holed away into markers read, auto archive. Cool. Why did it alert in the first place? Like, if I'm not going to bother looking at it, why did I get it? Doesn't make sense. So now you've gotten so many bad alerts that you get rid of them in the first place, and you still don't know what's important. So start to speak with the organization that you're supporting. Okay, think big, go small. How does your organization make money? What are their targets? If your organization doesn't make money in the first place, what is it that they are driven by? How do they do that? What dependencies are in that chain? This is the start of the context that you're supposed to be, observing, monitoring. Along the way, you'll find that someone somewhere, probably not in IT, has already got a small idea of, well, if I'm working in this particular application or if I'm doing this particular task and it takes just a little bit long, I already know that something is wrong, and that's when I usually start to call IT, right? That sounds like an SLA or an OLA, an organizational, or service level agreement, right? That could be a decent trigger or an alert or whatever. Some of these things will be documented, others won't. But if you're alerting for something that's undocumented, start documenting it along the way. And then together with your organization, you'll start to have a really, really, really good platform of, okay, now we know what's going to happen, hopefully. And if we don't know what's going to happen, at least your alerting is starting to become more intelligent. You are now starting to see the problems as they occur together with your business. So hopefully you can get on it before that call comes in, or ticket, or whatever. This will slowly start to build trust in your organization, right? They'll start realizing that, okay, asking good questions, starting to think with us. And it'll probably also get back into the missing pieces. So I said I would get back to this slide. The one on the left, the first one, it wasn't specifically mine, but it was at a client that I was stationed at. For whatever reason, the air conditioning unit in the main equipment room or the server room were delivered as part of the building, which was under the control of facilities, and they didn't understand why there were 2 maintenance contracts. Maybe you can think about where this is going. Weren't my maintenance contracts. I didn't even know that they had maintenance contracts. Well, neither did facilities until one broke. So you find yourself on Christmas Eve in a server room that's 73 degrees. Yeah, that was lovely. Okay, so I now need to start monitoring my air conditioning units. Didn't even know that was a thing. The second one, again, facilities. I don't know why facilities have this many issues. It's probably because a lot of it is IoT, which, are any of you doing anything in IoT? Because I wasn't until I had a lot of these issues. The thing that I'm pointing at there is called a building management system. Cool, it manages all of the electronic gates and locks and speed gates and God knows what in an entire building. Yeah, if you've got a spanning tree issue in your network, which causes link flapping, then these things, they kind of just give up, and then no one can enter your building. Cool. Or leave the car park. And then the one on the right, that was one of my favorite ones. This is actually one from an old employer, like years ago. It's a telescopic conveyor in a distribution center. It's really cool. It's on rails, and it sits at the end of loading docks for trucks, right? It can move back and forth. And then when a truck comes, the garage door that you see at the end, that opens, and this thing reaches into the truck, and it saves, they call them distribution center associates, basically just person who can lift boxes. It saves them their back, right? Because then they're not lifting heavy boxes up, and it's great. Except when he wants to go on a smoke break and kicks the emergency stop so that the boxes stop coming, which then causes all of the conveyors in the line in this entire distribution center to stop. Now, they don't know that someone just went for a smoke break. All they see is all of our conveyors have stopped, so they call IT. What? How am I supposed to do anything about this? So I guess now I'm monitoring emergency stop buttons on telescopic conveyors. Okay. You see where I'm getting at? None of this stuff I would have been able to have found out if I didn't actually go into the organization and just stand and have a chat with this person. Like, hey, what does your day look like? What do you do? And then, okay, so you've hit that, but look what's going on down the line. This is the context that I'm talking about, and none of this can be sorted by one tool. Yeah, that does actually smell a lot like context. Monitor all of that. You know, visualize the dependencies to see the impact of what's going on outside of your control. You've got all of the sensors. All you need to do is put them together, and then you can start building the really clever alerts that I was alluding to earlier. Because your organization, they're really not interested in seeing a dashboard with ICMP packet drops for like 2 seconds. Who cares? Once you combine that with, I don't know, let's say a compute plane is sending so much traffic back and forth that it's dropping ICMP packets to start with, and then you start seeing delays in whatever application is being used, all of that combined starts to become an intelligent alert. So the last time I gave this talk, I had an audience member interrupt me round about now with some great advice from their SRE, their site reliability engineering team. After every incident they would also review the alert that got them in the incident in the first place. So they would actively tune and develop on their alerting as they went along. I found that great. Put that in here. So now, where does free or Libre open source software help in all of this, right? If it's not about tools and it's just about speaking with your business, how can all of that help? Open source isn't just free, you know, free beer. It's also the freedom to use it the way you wish, right? It also means, in that way, free from vendor lock-in and arbitrary limitations. So I say consolidate all of your monitoring, or your observability, I should say. That's where open source really shines. Now, there are a plethora of tools out there that can do all of this and probably more. Some of them I will not know about. These are just 3 that I know work very well, or I've seen work very well from people that I trust. Shout out to OpenTelemetry. I'd never even heard of them until the last time I gave this talk. Now I'm looking into them, and they're pretty cool. But these are just, you know, 3. I can't put like the hundreds of options on there. But these things will let you observe or monitor your environment hundreds of times over, regardless of the vendor that you're using, be it an application, piece of infrastructure, a server, you name it, IoT, it can all go in here. Are you in an organization that requires professional services? Hey, if one of these things breaks, who do you call? Ooh, I've got news for you. Most of these have all of that. It's great. This gives you the flexibility to really consolidate the way I said. They're not really good at visualizing stuff, though. Most of these are all IT dashboards. So luckily, open source has got an answer for that as well. Just ram it into Grafana. Get some beautiful business dashboards there. So we're starting to go down the route of consolidate everything into a single tool that's cost-effective, not locked in. You can try it right now if you want. Well, maybe not right now, but go home, think about it, fire up a container or a VM tomorrow, try it then. But don't stop there, because all of this is reactive. Something breaks, and then you hear about it. Maybe you were already looking at a dashboard. Maybe you were already looking at some of the telemetry or logs that were coming through. Maybe you were there at the golden moment, and you're like, oh, I managed to catch this before it broke. But you can also automate that, and that continues down the open source route. No, it's that dragon again. Okay, some of these might not necessarily be as free and open as we would like, but that's a whole different discussion about open source licensing that I don't really like to have right now. And also, again, these are just stuff that works very well together in my experience. But you've already built the intelligent alerting, you've already got your nice dashboards, you've already figured out the context for what's important to your organization. And as I said, this gives you some kind of reactive setup in your environment to figure out what's going on. With something like this, all working together, putting stuff into a single source of truth, Netbox, linking that into something like Zabbix for your monitoring, not only does your platform now figure out when something is wrong, but it knows what it should be in the first place. You can now start observing or monitoring when stuff breaks because it changes from how it should have been in the first point. This is proactive now. So if someone changes some settings in Netbox, I don't know, maybe someone does a really weird configuration change that shouldn't have happened, you can already stop that before it even gets applied or pushed to your switches, access points. God knows what else you've got going on. And it's applying this context retroactively that creates a proactive configuration. Cool. The message here is that unlike what the industry giants around us are pushing to sell, observability isn't just a product that you can buy off the shelf. Hey, I've got a tool, let's just install that. Cool, everything works. It's the context that you put in, and that context comes from you. That's it. Questions? Yeah, done. Cool.
No questions? No second questions?
And if you're afraid of asking in English, you can also do it in Dutch. Lovely. Thank you all.
Discussions? Well,
Cool.
I would like to thank you for your talk. I'll
No worries.
give a little gift from the organization.
Thank you very much. Thank you.